Welcome to the OPTIMAI training module on data protection. In this module, we will discuss key points related to the General Data Protection Regulation. The General Data Protection Regulation, the GDPR, came into force in the European Union on the 25th of May 2018. The regulation has been transposed into law and is applicable in the countries of OPTIMAI's pilot sites, Greece, Spain and the United Kingdom. The GDPR enshrines important obligations for data controllers with regards to the handling of personal data. In the GDPR, personal data is defined as any information relating to an identified or identifiable natural person, data subject. An identifiable natural person is one who can be identified directly or indirectly, in particular by reference to an identifier such as a name, an identification number, location data, an online identifier, or to one or more factors specific to the physical, physiological, genetic, mental, economic, cultural, or social identity of that natural person. In OPTIMAI, all partners may have various uses for personal data, including names and contact details, or may handle data containing identifiers of persons, including audio and visual data. Let's look at consent and legitimate interest. When OPTIMAI partners are processing personal data, they should make sure they do so with an appropriate lawful basis. In some cases, consent will be an appropriate basis for processing such data. This consent should be freely given, informed specific to the data processing activity, given by the data subject with clear agreement, and revocable. If you are planning to publish images of identifiable employees on a website or social media, for example, you should ask for the employee's permission to take and share the image, ensuring that they are informed of where it will be published and why, and how they can later have it removed if they withdraw their consent. It is important to point out that, during OPTIMAI pilot activities, many employees participating in the research cannot be fairly said to be able to consent to all data processing operations by end users or other partners. The vulnerable position of an employee relative to their employer often militates against consent as a lawful basis for processing their data, particularly if it cannot be demonstrated that an employee freely chose without any pressure. For matters including the use of new tools that may form an intrinsic element of the employee's role and require personal information for logins, for example, they may not be in a position to freely refuse processing of their personal data without compromising their ability to perform their job. In this case, the data controller may rely on another lawful basis, including legitimate interest. A relevant legitimate interest to specific instances of data processing may exist between end users and employees, for example, based on a relevant and appropriate relationship and where data subjects can reasonably expect the data processing operations at the time and in their context of taking place. For this lawful basis, a balancing test should be performed and documented with the assistance of a legitimate interest assessment as provided by ethics and legal partners. What about data processing? Data processing operations